Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Rebel Creatives Podcast. I'm your host, Delano, and if you don't know about me, I'm all about helping business owners and entrepreneurs to gain financial impact and time freedom so they can have a more fulfilling life. And in today's episode, we have a special guest joining us. All right. So please welcome Kelsey Nicole. Kelsey is an expert in helping online business owners improve their personal performance and operational efficiency. And she works primarily with marketing professionals and agency owners. So, Kelsey, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And we're going to, talk back and forth. We're going to dive into the topic of, having or what business owners need to achieve fit freedom, as I like to call it, right? The financial impact and time freedom. And we'll be discussing the systems that can be implemented to be more efficient in our operations and reach our business goals, right? So Kelsey will cover personal performance and operational efficiency, while I'll focus on the sales and marketing side of things. All right, so let's get started. Now, Kelsey, let's start with personal performance, right? Time management is something we all struggle with. What are some systems or techniques that business owners can use to better manage their time?
Yeah. So before I hop into kind of details about that, I love kind of the breakdown. I think this is kind of what you and I connected about. You are very much so about the sales and the marketing systems, and I'm in the back end with the personal performance and the operational systems overall. And I think just for your audience that's listening, it's oftentimes really important to look at your personal performance as a business owner first and look at how the business is operating as a whole and creating structure there before you start getting heavy into ramping up your marketing and sales. Because I'm sure many people know, right? Like you start ramping up that marketing and sales, but you don't have a solid structure to scale from. So then you kind of get caught between that rock and a hard place. And it's a lot of that push and pull where it's like, oh, I bring on new clients and now I've got a lot of work and I'm making a lot of money, but I have to pause my marketing and sales. And then you have to go back to it when you finish projects. So I like that we're between the two of us, I think we're covering like the wide array of what it means to run a business. But when it comes to like the personal side of performance, time management is definitely a key. But the two areas that I would say that I focus on mostly with business owners, which plays into time management, is task management and stress management, or if you want to say emotional management,
Yeah.
right? As a business owner, especially if you are an entrepreneur that you had to hustle and grind to get your business off the ground yourself, you end up wearing all the hats in your business. You end up taking on all of the tasks that need to happen. And when you start to get into that rhythm and flow and you're making sales, you're making cash, like that kind of thing, it comes down to how are you managing the tasks that need to be happening on a daily basis or a weekly basis to keep the business running. And I'm sure you know this, as most business owners do, it can be hella stressful.
Yeah.
So so you also need to learn, how do you cope with the stress that comes with that? How do you stay resilient in the face of roadblocks? Because a big part of being a business owner and entrepreneur is knowing how to problem solve constantly and not, giving up when the going gets tough and being able to keep pushing forward. And so that's where that stress management comes from. It also creates a sense of grounding where you feel like you have a little bit more control over, okay, let me take a step back and look at how can I manage my tasks and create some space so I can work on the business instead of being stuck in it, which is ultimately needs to happen for you to expand your marketing and your sales. Um, I was kind of like a roundabout. That wasn't a full answer, but the question was about like what specific implementation should people do? Is that what you were asking?
For time management.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say the two biggest things that I implement with my business owners, the very first thing we do is we look at how are they managing their time and their tasks on a daily basis. So what is the boundaries that they have, the boundaries around that,
Yeah.
and planning accordingly. I think it was Steve Jobs that said like learning how to say, I'm going to butcher this quote, but it's like deciding what not to do. Oh, yeah, deciding what not to do is just as important as deciding what to do. And
Mhm.
so you have to put those boundaries in place. Like, is this task something that's going to move the needle in your business? There's always going to be a million one things that we need to do to, continue to grow and scale the business and to create kind of a better flow. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, there's only a few tasks that are really critical moving, and that's what you need to prioritize when you have limited bandwidth. So knowing that you need to say no to those new shiny objects, and you need to focus on what is your critical product, your critical service, and how can you make that a repeatable system that you can scale with. Um, so learning to say no to certain things and knowing what you're prioritizing on a daily basis and then planning accordingly. What this looks like is like an actual practice is, what's your schedule with meetings? Do you just take meetings whenever and wherever, or do you actually have pockets of time dedicated to that? Based on your energy, are you a morning person? So that means like if you're a morning person, you do better deep work during that time. You surely should not be taking meetings in the morning. Your meetings should be in the afternoon. You should be leaving at least 1 to 2 days open in the week where you're able to do deep focus work, whether that's work doing fulfillment to, meet your clients' contracts or to work on the business. And so really about how are you structuring your time and how are you holding pockets of space for the different types of tasks that you have to tackle. And so that's all with the boundaries and the planning. And then the second part is stress management. The number one technique that I implement with all of my business owners, and they always say, like after about 2, 3 weeks of consistently implementing it, they're like, wow, this actually makes a huge difference, is some sort of nervous system management. How can you consciously practice moving your body from that activated state to that parasympathetic relaxed state so that you can be functioning from a more calm place? Because when we are calm, then we can function better with those executive functioning skills.
Right.
And so we do square breathing.
Mm, nice. And what
Yeah.
is square breathing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Square breathing is, oh, have you done it before? Or are you,
oh.
okay.
Mhm.
Super, super simple. So it is all you need to do it is for a bare minimum 5 minutes, but the goal is to do it at least 4 to 5 times out, like in a week. So you
Mhm.
kind of build up that consistency and you build that feeling in your body. But it's breathing in through your nose, out through your nose or mouth, and never into your chest, always into your belly. But it's like let's say 5 second inhale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. So it's box or square breathing. 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah.
Um, I believe, I'm not sure if this is an accurate stat, but I believe it is. I don't know if it was originally created or got really popular in the Marines. So Marines use it in order to take them out of, like, if they're in a high adrenaline state because they're in shit in the middle of
No worries.
war or activity, how to consciously regulate their nervous system to bring them down into a calmer state so that they can focus on the task at hand with a little bit more like efficiency and productivity, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's square breathing. Super simple. I practice it almost every day.
Mhm.
It makes a huge difference. And if you're an anxious individual like me, it helps a lot.
Right. I love how you combine, right, the time management with even the emotional side of things. And for me personally, what I do is I make sure that the tasks that I set to do for the day, they're high impact towards my business, but it's not overloading. It's not too much.
Yes.
So I kind of say 5 tasks, five high
Yes.
critical tasks. I put them in priorities. So I will have priority 1 to 5 and I would just
Mhm.
work through them. And I also love the part where you talk about knowing yourself, if you're a morning person or evening person, and setting up your task based off that, because that is what will really help to reduce the stress
Mhm.
and help you to be consistent and get things done. Because
Yeah.
that's the whole thing with being entrepreneurs and business owners. You have to get the task done. If we're not getting the task done, we're not moving the business forward. We're not going to find
Mhm.
to serve and so on and so forth. So that takes me right to the next thing that I believe is very important, and is about goal setting, right?
Yeah.
Because all of these tasks are great and managing the time to do these tasks are great. But if we don't have the right goal, then we won't be able to really do effective tasks. So what systems can be put in place to ensure effective goal setting and tracking progress?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it depends on like how deep you want to get with it. If you don't want to get into some sort of deep goal setting task with a SWOT analysis and doing your OKRs, your objective and key results, which can be, really high level, it can be a little bit intense to learn in the beginning. The key to having a proper goal setting practice is it needs to happen consistently, regularly, right? So I would say like a big goal setting session 1 to 2 times a year where it's like, okay, what are my goals for the year? Sitting down, taking a look at that. And then you have monthly check-ins where you're going back and you're reviewing these goals, which most people always forget to do this. So you put it on your calendar. This is your monthly review, going and seeing, okay, what did I accomplish this month? And what was in line with the goals that I had originally set? And what do I need to shift or change based on, the information you gathered from taking action? Because sometimes we do have to pivot. And then how can we apply that towards our larger goal moving forward? And what do we need to prioritize moving forward? And I think one of the more simple ways of creating goals is you can use the Eisenhower matrix for prioritization, but the initial goal setting, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of SMART goals. So where you need to make them specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. There's a few other things that you need to put in there. I've been doing goal setting for a really long time. It's actually a private group that I started when I used to work in inpatient psychiatry, and I used to do goal setting training for patients and things like that. And one of the methods that I kind of expanded upon was SMART, but I call it the simple method. And it's basically looking at not only are you trying to make a goal that is measurable and attainable and like specific, but you need to break it down. So if you want to, let's just say you want to hit 80,000 USD this year in your business. What are the different areas in your business you need to look at? So you look at your marketing, your sales, potentially your back end upsell, right? For clients that you already have in your pocket. But what then you keep breaking it down. What are the actions underneath that? Well, I'm already doing organic marketing, I'm doing ads, and I'm doing cold prospecting, right? So out of those three methods, what's been working really well, what hasn't been working well, and what do we need to double down on or shift on? And what does that look like in actual practice on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis? And you start getting more and more concrete. And that is how you create actionable goals. You have that big picture and it's great to imagine what does that look like, but you have to get down to the bare brass of what does it look like in practice. I don't know, do you use any goal setting methods for yourself?
Yes. So for me, I like to keep things simple. I always say
Yeah.
if you have to, do too much or think too hard on something, it's a little bit too complicated, take a step back.
Mhm.
So for me, when I love when you say you do the big goal setting once or twice a year. For me, I do it once. So
Mhm.
just as though we will have a New Year resolution, that's what I do.
Yeah.
For like in December time, I plan out for the next year in full. And when I have that big goal, I break it down to the very simple actions that need to be done on a day-to-day basis to reach that goal. And for that, it makes it much simpler. And that ties in to my 5 task a day method, right? So when I look at the big goal that I have, I make sure that it's smart, because if you don't have a specific goal, if it's not measurable, all of those things, right? It's not going to help you to get to a direction, right? It's going to be like just a spot in nowhere. So
Yeah.
to have that goal, what I do is I break down the numbers all the way down to daily action steps.
Yes.
And what I do is I break that down to just 5 tasks. So
Yeah.
I know that every single day, if I hit my 5 tasks, I'm one step
Mhm.
closer to my goal. And because I do it so in depth, I only
Yeah.
make changes after 3 months. If I realize that I'm not hitting my KPIs and all of those things, then I will say, all right, let me see what's not working and then tweak it there. But it's always
Mhm.
in line with that big goal that I've set.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
good to combine goals with the task to
Yep.
get to the right place. Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned KPIs. I know that for some people, if they're not comfortable with the business lingo, right? Like key performance indicators,
Right.
it's a really solid way when you take your big goal, you break it down into actionable tasks, but then you have these key performance indicators where it's like, okay, so I need to increase my marketing and I'm going to hone in on my organic marketing, which means I need to be producing more content and I have to build a more engaging community. What does that mean in practice? Well, I need to be putting out more content every week. Okay, let's look at the KPIs of that. I need to see, am I consistently putting out 4 pieces of content a week? And now that metric gives you something to measure your progress against. And so, a month or two down the road, you're like, I'm not seeing the progress that I want to see. Well, look back at your actions that you took and measure it against your KPIs. Were you putting out 4 pieces of content? Were you doing community engagement, 30 minutes a day? Were you, what are the numbers that you're receiving in return? The sort of likes, comments, engagement, or people who are entering your funnels, right? That's what helps you to really measure that progress. So I love that you said that. And we're definitely on the same page about all of it.
Well, now we're talking about the work-life balance, because
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest challenge for many solopreneurs or very small business owners, the persons who are wearing all the hats, doing everything, bootstrapping to grow their business, is trying to find that balance. So do you have any tips or systems for maintaining a healthy work-life balance?
Yeah. So I know it's not the funnest of words, but boundaries, baby. Boundaries is where it's at. It's really about a combination of things. For work-life balance just doesn't it doesn't happen overnight. And I think I want to give the caveat that sometimes we have seasons of our business or of our life where our time is needed more in one area or the other. So it's not always a consistent, work life, this is our balance. It's about having harmony between the two based on what you're needing in that season. Maybe you're about to do a really big launch. And so you are focusing a little bit more on business. But what does that mean for your life? And what are some concrete boundaries you can put in place just to make sure you're still taking care of you and getting to enjoy the process of everything that you're doing? I think boundaries around, your meetings. I think big boundaries, which most business owners and entrepreneurs don't think about, is your work start and stop times
Yeah.
and your sleep, right? Usually that first place I start with people is I look at, how are you sleeping? Are you only getting 4 hours a night? Are you working until 2 in the morning? Now, if you are someone who does really well working late and you're fine with that, that's fine. But are you getting the right amount of sleep your body needs during the time that you are sleeping? What, even if that's in the middle of the day, right? Like, how are you taking care of the foundation of you so that you can show up to the best of your abilities with best, energy and quality for the business? And so I think boundaries around getting for me, I'm someone I actually need like 9 hours of sleep pretty often. I love sleep. I've loved it since I was a baby. My family actually thought something was wrong with me because of how much I slept. um, but I love sleep. So for me, I know my magic number is around 9. And so making sure I have that window every night of when I'm sleeping. And I won't lie, before we no, it was after my travels that we met, but I just took a 2-month kind of sabbatical where I was on break, but my business is running in the background, which was really nice. Systems for the baby, or for the win, baby. Um, but before that, I was getting a little bit burnt out because I just was taking on too much. And so coming back into the work scene, I've been really strict about, I'm ending work between 4:30 and 5:30. Now, occasionally I have a later day because I might have a late meeting or something like that, but that's not the standard. So knowing, how am I taking care of my nutrition? Am I eating my breakfast? Am I making time for lunch? Am I walking? Sitting at a desk all day is not great for us, and we get all this pent up energy. So, making sure I'm taking small breaks to get up and walk, maybe go outside. It's beautiful here in Chicago right now, so I want to take advantage of that. But making sure you have boundaries around these basic things so that the work doesn't consume you. Because I'm not sure, have you ever heard of Parkinson's law?
Not, no, I haven't heard about that.
Okay, so Parkinson's law is work will fill the time that you allow it. So if you say, oh, this task is going to take me 8 hours, most likely you will take the full 8 hours to do it. Now, if you could realistically do it in four and you hold that time for it to do it in the 4 hours, you'll probably finish it in four. But as a business owner, we constantly have tasks. We have work. Work doesn't ever shut off. We have to be the ones to like stop it and say that we're done for the day. And so work will fill up the time that you allow for it. So you have to make sure you put those boundaries in place to create a little bit of that harmony so you don't burn out and so that you can keep growing the business.
And, when you mentioned the Parkinson's law and you explained it, before I even go into that, I struggle with boundaries sometimes to some extent
Okay.
because I love
Yeah.
what I do, and I use that as an excuse to do more, which
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm working on that because what I do in my business, I set my work hours. I try my best not to go over that. I have my times for meetings and everything. Everything is set up for that. And then what I try to do to maintain that work-life balance is to make sure that I don't only just do work. There are scheduled for other things, spend time with family and actually, you know, do certain things like learn languages, read books, do other activities, because again, it's easy to get consumed, especially if what you're doing, you love it. Because they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? But all of those things are, it can be used as an excuse to put yourself into constant labor, constant stress, high stress all the time. And then before you know it, our health is down the drain, you know? So it's very important we say health is wealth. So it's very important to really take care of that so we can even better enjoy the things that the hard work, the monies that we'll be making, or be able to
Yeah.
impact more people's lives because we have such efficient systems and we're around for so long, we're able to have that big impact. So it's very important to have that balance.
No, 100%. And I love that you say, health is wealth. There's a lot of time in the health field, the medical field, right? That's my for people who don't know me, like I said, I used to work in inpatient psychiatry for a very long time. That was my original career. You know, if you don't schedule a break for yourself, what we would say is your body will. So eventually it'll give out. And we're not meant to be sitting on computers all day. That's not how our bodies are meant to function. And you can bust your butt and build this awesome business, but that's consuming all of your time. And then like, what's the point if you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor? And then when you do try to enjoy it, your body just ends up crashing. I don't know. I'm sure it's a little bit different in Jamaica, but in like the US, we have a very hardcore schooling system. So it's like
Mhm.
you're always supposed to be you get straight A's, you're producing, you're like on top of it, that kind of thing. And um what I've experienced, like I remember in college, I'd be grinding all hard, all year, all semester, and I'd get through my finals and I'd be staying up late studying. I wasn't getting the proper sleep, all these things. As soon as my finals ended and I was like, yay, done for the year. I want to go hang out with my friends, enjoy the sunshine. I get super sick. I get super, super sick for like a few weeks because my body is finally crashing. And so it's like I couldn't even enjoy.
Yeah, you could get a break that you've worked so hard to get.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, your body will they'll your body will schedule the break for you, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. And that is why it's very important, to set the boundaries, make sure that we have, and we stick to them. No, don't just set it, but set them,
Hmm.
stick with them, and make sure that we incorporate regular breaks and time for personal activities,
Yeah.
because these personal activities is what will, balance us out and get us
Hmm.
charged up to do
Yeah.
even more productive, right? As
Yeah.
you go on vacation, you come back, you come up with even better ideas.
Yes, 100%. No, there's a lot of research around like if we give our brains time to rest, like to step away from what we've been concentrating on so hard, we're able to come up with more unique problem solving, creative responses to when we were stuck. It's like the idea when you read a paragraph and your brain is really tired and you've read that paragraph literally three times and you're like, I have no idea what I just read. because our brains shut down. And something I just want to add before we move on to the next question is, right, all you wonderful entrepreneurs out there, you guys are so skilled and so great at being creative in your problem solving with your business. It's the same thing when it comes to trying to set boundaries and create a little more of that harmony, right? Like a lot of people, when they're trying to change their habits, they try to do something hardcore for 7 days and then they mess up the 6th day. They're like, well, it's done and over with. I can't, it's not working, right? You try to set a boundary to finish at, let's say 5 p.m. and you're consistently finishing at 7. What that means is you just need to take a step back and say, okay, what's not working here? How could I slightly adjust this? Maybe this week I just commit to finishing at 6:30, but making sure I start by 9 a.m. Like maybe you have to evaluate the situation in a bigger picture. And so use that big, beautiful entrepreneur brain and how creative you are in your business, use that towards setting those boundaries and creating that harmony for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. So now let's shift to the operational efficiency side of things. Automation is a game changer for many businesses. What are some essential tools and softwares for automating business processes?
Gosh, so that's a really big question. And I think it depends from business to business. I will say this, the more simple, the better, always. This is an area that you don't want to complicate. And if it's not automation, you should absolutely be looking at delegation. But at the end of the day, depending on the area of your business, right? So, for example, with marketing and sales, you definitely want to have some sort of CRM set up. And I know we'll probably jump into that, but that's the type of system you want to have in place, whether it's partially automated or you have, a team or an assistant that helps with keeping track of leads and moving leads down that pipeline as needed. Um, a lot of other like systems, like automations that I see that's really, really important, especially for like agency owners and other people who are in the marketing realm, is really around having, again, systems are different than automation, but at least having a systematic process for your onboarding, for like bringing them onto a project, having a certain project management system. So things like Asana, Monday.com, Trello. For other people create things out of Notion or Airtable. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what platform that you're using, and you can automate a lot of things within there. It's about, are you using it right, and is it simple enough that you'll stay consistent with it? And I think looking at how you can systematize things first is really important before you move into automation or delegation. And I think a lot of people skip that because what people, they want to, take things off of their plates. Or like, I'm going to automate this. And then we piecemeal with Zapier, right? Or some other tool where it's like, oh, I'll automate from like Google to this, to that. And then it becomes this really like complicated system to manage, than rather taking the time to like look at how their business is actually functioning, documenting those processes, creating a system out of it, and then picking something that's going to fit their business instead of all this other shiny new stuff out there that people are like, oh, do this or do that or automate this. And it's about really looking at a system that works for you and then deciding what to automate and delegate from there.
Right. And I know that when we talk about automation, a lot of persons they think first softwares and all these other technology, AI and all of those things. And I would like to say I'm a rebel. I look at things different. So I don't grasp on to the whole AI and all of those things as yet. But what I mostly focus on, because I work with online and also offline entrepreneurs, is having those standard operating procedures, or SOPs as we like to shorten the name. And that's what we build out to make sure that we're consistent and we're getting the things done. It's easy to train staff. You pass on a SOP, they know how to do it. You're doing the same thing over and over again. You create an SOP so you're more efficient. So I know you're into all of that. So can you explain their importance and how to create them?
Oh yeah, I've been called many things, and one of them is the SOP queen because I'm always like, do we have an SOP for
Right.
um but you gave a really good like brief description of SOPs, and I think a lot of business owners, they get scared of having to like, oh, now I have to document this process. a really simple way to get into SOPs is the moment you find yourself doing a task more than once, record a video of yourself doing it, dump it into a document, and at a later point, you can either use tech, you can use like a virtual assistant, or you can do it yourself. And you just transcribe that video into kind of written instructions where you're filling in any missing details that maybe you didn't cover in the video, right? Like, oh, how to log into this platform, or here's the criteria for what we fill in this category. Because at this point in time, everything exists in your head. But if you want to grow your business, you don't have the bandwidth to do it all alone. I hate to break it to you. You hustled to get to the point that you're at. You did a fantastic job, but it's not sustainable. So in order to grow forward, you have to get all that information out of your head and onto paper. And that is what an SOP is. It's also really helpful for identifying, like as you're starting to document what you're doing, you can take a look at it and be like, oh, I'm the bottleneck in this process. This could be done a little bit differently at this point where I can hand it off better to somebody else, or I can lean into automation with tech, or something like that, right? And so I think SOPs are the foundation of creating a operational structure you can sustainably scale from. And I'd be happy to share. I've got an SOP template I use for all my clients, for myself. I'd be happy, super simple, happy to share with your community if you want, because it's just a nice starting place.
Yeah, definitely, we love that. And even to add to that, that is where delegation really shines, because
Yeah.
once you have those SOPs and you're delegating these tasks out, now it's super easy and effective because you have everything documented. And I think that's the first step. You're that expert in that area, for example, it's all in your head. So when you put it out, and now you can use tools to kind of put it in a nicer format or to simplify it enough and put it into steps that somebody else can digest easily, right? And that's where it comes in. I think a lot of persons, they want to just use AI or use tools and expect the tool to do everything, even with VAs. So it's not just tech. Even with VAs, if you hire a VA to do something, you say, I want this done. They won't be able to do it as effective if you haven't documented what you know that works to then give them to follow, right?
Yeah.
But you have certain persons, as you said, when you can build that SOP and see the bottleneck where you are the bottleneck. Now, if you go to an expert, you know exactly what expert you need, what they need to know in order to improve that bottleneck, and then pass on your SOP so they know your process, your way, and they can improve it based off of their expertise. So that's where the delegation really gets powerful, when we
Yeah.
can build out these SOPs.
Yeah. No, you hit on a lot of good points there. And I think, right, like a lot of people who try to start scaling and they start delegating, managing people is a whole nother job in and of itself. And so I think that one, it's intimidating. So if you're not confident enough in it, that it doesn't flow for you. But then it becomes this whole other workload you have to manage, that if you leverage SOPs, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out that there's two different types of SOPs here that I typically try to explain to my clients is, right. So there's an SOP, maybe you're hiring someone for like, it's a lower level skill, or you're going to train them up. So they are fresh, they are new. And so you have to train them up. So you definitely need in-depth SOPs where it's like, okay, task A, this is a step-by-step of how we achieve this task, right? If you're hiring an expert, they don't necessarily need to be told how to achieve finish that task or achieve their role. It's more so about how are they going to fit in the system of your business, right? They can accomplish that task, but then how do they know who to hand it off to? Where do we save things? Where do we make sure information's not falling through the cracks? Like how do we handle everything as a whole together as a system to make sure that the business keeps churning smoothly, right? So there's those kind of a higher level SOP with just the process around accomplishing that work. And then there's the more in-depth internal SOP of like, this is what you do to accomplish it. But at the end of the day, both of them are super, super important. And it's going to make building a team, growing your business a lot easier.
Yeah. Definitely. So we've talked about, how they can manage their time and the operations and stuff. Now we're gonna delve into the sales and marketing system
Yeah.
side of things. And everything that we've talked about so far, to me, those are foundational. Like, if you don't have those things, when you start talking about sales and marketing, it can be like it can be a boon or it can be your enemy if you don't have the right foundation. And just to give a quick example, for me, when I take on clients, I always look at their existing reputation and systems. And if they aren't doing too well in that regard, I would come in and help them to get all this business that's going to stress them out and might even damage their reputation because they just can't handle all of that extra work. So everything that we've spoken about before, that's foundational. Like businesses need to have those things figured out. But now when it comes to the sales and marketing systems, it's all about generating leads consistently. And that is very vital because if nobody knows about your business and they're interested and can take action, nothing will happen. So, what systems can businesses use for lead generation? Right. And to kind of dive
Yeah.
into that, there are several strategies for lead generation, and you can have lead magnets, you can have like a free book or a webinar, or to attract your potential clients with any freebies that will give them value and help them to solve or give them a quick win, as I like to call it. And all of this can be integrated with landing pages, and you can use, there are so many tools out there, like lead
Yeah.
page funnels, to do all of those things. But for me, when we talk about sales and marketing, I always look at I call the first stage, first impression, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about making sure that you have an online presence that's going to help you to make that first impression that attracts your ideal audience's attention and gets them to take action, right? So you want to make sure that you have that online presence, whether it's a website, whether it's a funnel, whatever it is that people can go to, learn about what you have to do, and take action by giving you their information so that you can educate them and let them know even more about what you have to offer and how you can help them solve that problem. Because at this point, it's all about them. Everything that we said before,
Mm-hmm.
you and how you can make sure that your business is running good and how you can be good. But now, when we talk about the sales and marketing, it's about what you can do for the market, how you can help
Yeah.
them, problem you can solve, what transformation you can give. And you want to have that first impression that's, solving all of that and giving them that information so they can take that action, which is to get you to help them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, right, I mean, you're spot on with like you have to have those other operational foundations structured first, and then you can start to look at, okay, what is your marketing system? What's your prospecting system? What is your sales system? And how can you make it even more systematized, a repeatable process? And then what are other aspects that you can automate or you can delegate so you can continue to expand your marketing and sales, right? I think the idea is there's a lot of different things in marketing and sales that work, and it's about establishing one piece at a time. But once you have one established, that needs to consistently be running in the background. And that's based off of having solid operational structures. So, one of the first things that I have a lot of my clients do is I have them do kind of like there was another company that I was doing coaching in their program. We called it the Marketing Growth Headquarters document. And it's literally writing down on paper, okay, what is your business? Like what's your elevator pitch? What's your tagline? Who do you serve? What are the problems that they're having? What are the solutions that you bring to the table? What's your unique selling point? But most of the time for these business owners, they've done so well, they've got consistent cash flow. They're even hitting 10K months or more, but none of this is written down anywhere. It doesn't exist anywhere. And it needs to be documented so that they can start to be like, okay, we've been doing this with organic marketing. How can we improve our copy? Well, you need to understand who your ideal client is, who your target audience is, or your team needs to be able to have that information so that they can improve the organic marketing, or they can improve the conversations, that first impression that they're making with potential clients. And it really comes down to, are you creating some sort of systematic structure that everybody can use so you could ramp up those sales?
Right. And I like to, like for example, if any business owner wants to have an effective sales funnel, it just has to have these several, these stages, right? First,
Yeah.
awareness. You want to make sure that your system, your sales, I don't want to say sales funnel because it's
Mhm.
not just a,
Yeah.
so your sales system has to have a stage where it's bringing awareness and then it's bringing interest. And after that, decision, helping the viewer to make a decision. Is this for them or not? And if they
Hmm.
decide it is for them, give them a way to take action. And once you do that, you will have a good sales system. And the next plug, which a lot of persons might be missing out, is email marketing. And again, I don't even want to say email marketing because it just feels like you're just pushing your offer. I want to
Hmm.
call it salutation, where you are educating your audience more about your business and how you can help them to
Hmm.
get them to make that decision that's best for them, right? Which
Yeah.
would normally be them hiring you or deciding to work with you to get that outcome that you promise, right?
Yeah.
So just having the page, making it do all of those stages, different stages, and then having a way to educate them via emails or text or however you want to communicate, whichever channel.
Hmm.
That is what you need to have an effective sales system.
Yeah. What would you say for like an already overwhelmed business owner, right? What would you say is the first place to start in like your first marketing foundation, like that they should focus on making repeatable before they expand into other areas? What would you say is typically a good place to start for people if they're already feeling really overwhelmed and they've probably been trying everything and anything, right? Like jumping from organic to ads to this to that. What would you say is usually a really good marketing structure to start with?
I normally say just pick one because
Hmm.
they they do this, they spread themselves thin doing the organic and then the paid and all of those things. So what they need to do is just assess so far out of all the things they have done, which one is working the best for them and which one is more aligned with them.
Yeah.
After we decide that one, they just build a system around that and have it as automated as possible. So it's working for them 24/7. So a quick
Yeah.
example for me, maybe ads, just doing ads is the best fit because I don't like to do the cold calling or the cold outreach and all those things. I struggle with creating content, so I'm not able to do the attraction marketing for people to come to me. So I have the
Hmm.
budget and I have the skill. Let me do ads, for example, then
Yeah.
just ads, but then create the sales system so that when the ads work and the leads are coming in, they're going
Yeah.
through awareness, interest, decision, and action. And you
Yeah.
have to wait as I say, to retarget them to make sure that they're educated and know what to do to come back. And if you can automate all of that, now you remove the stress because you only have one thing to focus on, which you automate as best as possible to reduce the stress. And if you can, plug in a qualifying process in all of that.
Yeah.
If you
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you can have the sales system not only get you the leads, but qualify them before you have to get involved, even better.
Yeah.
And some tips on how to do this, you can do a survey to ask them
Hmm.
some questions and just make sure that you disqualify or qualify them based off of their answers, right? And
Ooh,
before,
a quiz.
so before a person even be able to book a time on your calendar or to buy your offer, they're going through a process of
Yeah.
qualification automatically. I call it self-discovery.
Yeah. 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 That's great. No, I love that. That's fantastic. Definitely like some solid methods to approach. But I mean, even with my business, that was the one thing I learned very quickly. Like you have to pick one and you stick with it, and then you get back, you get decent at that, and you kind of automate or systematize as much as possible before moving on to the next one.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that, now we're going into the customer relationship management, right? Because now you're getting all of these leads and data. I like to call it zero-party data. How do you manage all of that? How do you measure your effectiveness and everything?
Mhm.
And that's very important when it comes to the whole CRM side. So
Yeah.
for me, to measure the effectiveness of a CRM, you want to look at metrics such as, customer retention rates, sales conversion rates, and customer satisfaction scores. For me, those are the big three things. There are so many things you can look at, but to keep things simple and to make sure that you're effective, those three things are enough. And it kind of goes with our formula for success. We say N plus R times A equal revenue. N is for new customers, R is for repeat or re retain like existing customers staying with you, and A is your average order value. Now let's break down the metrics. Now, if you're looking at your customer retention rates, that will let you know how much of your customers, your new customers, are staying with you, right? And that's important. If you have a lot of persons leaving, something is wrong. You're literally losing, bleeding money. You have to figure out why aren't people staying with you, right? The next is your sales conversions, and that's how much or how well your sales system is converting. When a new person comes or into your world, how much of them are saying yes to you? If you can know that metric, you will know how effective your sales system is. And now you will know what you need to work on and improve on to make that better, right? And the last one is your customer satisfaction. And I think a lot of persons, this is where they don't even do that. Like they just run the business, serve a person that spend money. They don't care about the satisfaction scores. But if you pay attention to that, it will let you know what you need to do to build customer loyalty. And that has so much benefits because if your customers are loyal, they will spend more money with you, increasing your average order value, right? So now that's more revenue for nothing, right? And they will be ambassadors going out there and getting you new people to work with you. They will refer and recommend other persons to come to you. So now that's your new customers coming in just because you have a lot of satisfied customers. And last but not least, they will stay with you longer and more. Now that takes care of the retention. So that's why I focus on those three metrics whenever I look at a CRM. Can it let me know how much customers are staying with me? How much new customers am I getting? And how happy the customers that I have or I've served are, and is it helping them to do the things that loyal customers do, which is spend more, share my business more, and just, overall be that support system that really drives my business forward. So that's what as it relates to the sales and marketing side of having a CRM, how it can really help a business to gain that financial impact and time freedom.
No, absolutely. And I think every aspect that you mentioned, in case anyone's wondering, because sometimes it can be overwhelming to look at the whole big picture like that.
Right.
Every aspect of that can be systematized and either automated or delegated. Aside from maybe like the high level strategy that would be you as the business owner being responsible for, if you don't want to like pay out very expensive for an expert to help you, or you get just expert help now and again, all the other aspects of it, about the actual fulfillment of your marketing and sales and everything that you just described can absolutely be systematized. And obviously Delano knows his stuff when it comes to marketing and sales. He knows all the nooks and crannies of the different areas with between new and repeat and the average value of what you need for like truly consistent, productive revenue.
Yeah. And with all of what we've discussed so far, now it's combining all of that and having a holistic approach. So now we're not just in it for the finances, because for me, what financial freedom is, you're making the money that you need to sustain your life and all of that. You're good. But the impact freedom is where you have full control of how many lives you can impact positively. Your own, your families, your customers, your community. I love to work with businesses that are community focused because that's how we build awesome communities, right? And then the time freedom, because even though you're doing all of those good things, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're making sure you have the time to enjoy the fruits of your labor and to do the things that you love with the persons you love, right? Then you're not going to have a fulfilling life. So putting all of what we've discussed together and regularly reviewing and adjusting our systems to ensure that they align with our business goals is very, very essential. And communication and collaboration among team members are also key to ensuring that everything runs, smoothly. So I guess right now, how we can do is just share an example of a business that successfully implemented our systems that we've worked with, and I'll let you start.
Yeah, gosh. So am I supposed to be giving an example? Like I can use an example of clients and how they've implemented things? Let's take a look. So I've worked with quite a few girlies that are in email marketing for e-commerce. I had one client, she solid offer. She worked really well. She knew the types of brands that she wanted to work with in email marketing, and she had clients, but she kind of felt like she was on that hamster wheel of get a new client, and then it was added to her workflow, and her bandwidth would get max, and then add a new client, and then her bandwidth would be max, and she could like at most take 5 clients at a time. And just looking at first and foremost how she was managing her time and the boundaries that she had and managing the stress that came with the workload. Once we addressed that, she felt like she had space to work on the business, which was looking at, okay, what sort of processes do we need to create and document? Where do we need to fill any gaps, address any bottlenecks? And then from those processes, what could be systematized and what and end up expanding. So like we expanded her team. She went from 0 to like 3 members of her team. And then with that came implementing a project management system and making sure that that was running smoothly. And then once we had kind of all the operations solidified, we looked into her marketing and her sales. And so how was she bringing in clients? What was the funnel that she was using? And she had a solid funnel. She literally, because it was such a great offer, she could turn the tap on and off whenever she wanted for leads. And so it was a matter of like, okay, when we bring in leads, can your team handle it? Is there proper project management? Is there communication between you and your clients, you and the team? And she went from, with all of that, she went from working like over 40-hour weeks to consistent less than 20-hour weeks. And she ended up doubling her monthly revenue. I think she went from about, I think it was about 14K months to about 25 thousand a month. And she wasn't overloaded. And then she also went from 0 to team. And so she felt a lot more confident and she felt like she had the space to work on the business the way that she wanted. But it really came down to her personal like routines and habits, those operational systems and processes, and then creating a consistent marketing funnel. For her, it was pretty easy because she had that tab, but like making sure her CRM had a great nurturing sequence and how she would be able to get in touch with her ideal people and all of that. And it works. That's how you can sustainably scale without losing your sanity, basically.
Yeah, and from my end, how I always say it is, me and my team, we come in and we take all the grunt work off of our clients, and we do all the heavy lifting so they enjoy the outcome, right? So
Yeah.
we take care of everything and let them. So for example, with us, we have a client that before us, they were struggling with getting their revenue to be balanced, like to be predictable, to be consistent.
Yeah.
And what we came in, we did an audit to make sure we see what's happening. And this is one of the things a lot of businesses they don't do. They don't ask their customers, what's up? So that's exactly what we did. We come in, we ask their customers what's up. And based off of that information, we've created a sales system that now caters to them and their needs. Because now we know exactly what they want. And that's why I say the more you know about your customers, the better you can serve them. So now we created an entire, sales system for them, and we put it out to their audience. And in the first 30 days, they made over 10K, right? And we have the system in a situation where it's constantly growing and adding to it, and we're collecting data all the time to improve it. But the best part about all of that is that we're doing the heavy lifting and they get to do what they love. This is a restaurant, so cook food, serve good food, right? So they get to do more of what they love and enjoy the benefits of growing and at the same time getting their existing customers to come in more often. So their revenue is increasing by up to 30%. They get to see their best customers come in more often and they get in more referrals. All of their promotions are taken off. And they're not just doing the promotions to catch people, but more of a rewarding experience because now those rewards are earned. They're not just baits to get new people. That's how we set everything up for them. It's set up so that it's a rewarding experience for people because they're doing great service. They're helping people. They're giving them what they want. So now it's just to reward them when they choose them because they could have chosen anybody else, right? But we've set things up for them so that they can reward their customers and get all the benefits of that. So just to add with everything, I would say whenever, a business owner is looking to implement systems in their business and wondering who should I work with? Should I work with Kelsey or should I work with Delano? Although that's a yes. But what you want to do, is first conduct an audit of your current systems, right? And try to
Yeah.
identify areas for improvement. And after that, you want to prioritize which systems you need to implement based off of your business needs. And I like to tell people it's okay to start small, right?
Yeah.
Because you just want to start somewhere and then gradually expand as you see results. And most importantly, be consistent and patient. All right. And if you need any help with any of that, Kelsey is your go-to when it comes to managing your time and your operation and all of those things. And I'm your go-to if you want to deal with your sales and your marketing, and you just need that support to get
Yeah.
those in place and really unlock your business's potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. You said it better than I could.
All right, so I want to thank you, Kelsey, for sharing
Yeah.
your expertise with us today. And just let's recap, the main systems we've discussed is, time management, goal setting, having that work-life balance, doing your automations and your SOPs. So those are very important. And without the SOPs, you can't really do effective delegation. So that is another thing
Yeah.
that we want to implement in their business. And then on the sales side, lead generation, having sales systems and CRMs in place to help you to optimize and be more efficient and just get better results. And if
Mm-hmm.
every business owner, online, offline, it doesn't matter your business, if you're implementing these, it can help you to achieve, fit freedom, right? Financial impact and
Yeah.
time. And that's where the goal is, right? So yeah,
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast being able to talk about all the different avenues. It's not often that you get to see the combination of both, right? Like how your personal performance as a business owner really affects your operational performance, and then looking at your operations and getting a structure in place so that you really can implement like increased systems with your marketing and sales, and that's what all contributes to that long-term sustainability. And I love the term fit freedom because it's a perfect fit.
perfect fit.
So it's a perfect fit. But thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right. And before we wrap up, Kelsey, where can our listeners find you and learn more about your services?
Yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome. I'll give you my Facebook connection, but Facebook is the main place. I have my own profile and a group there with a lot of other business owners who are looking to achieve that fit freedom. So happy to connect with people there. Feel free to shoot me a direct message. I'm always open to having a conversation. My website is under construction right now, or I would direct you there, but it's not what it should be. So just building that out. But yeah, happy to share that info, and also still happy to share that little freebie with like actual systems and processes and some templates on SOPs and how you can get started with that.
Mhm. All right, great. And then, everybody, about me, it's delanowallace.com, or you can just go to delano.therebel.me, right? And right there, you will be basically see all the things that I do, how I can help, and get all my free value. Because for me, I think if I don't know enough about a business, I can't help them. I have no offer. I can't sell you anything because I don't know. So if you go to delano.therebel.me, you will get to learn about all of my offers, how I can help, and then get free value and information and get to start that step to see how I can help you set up your own sales and marketing system so you can unlock your business potential and gain fit freedom. All right. So great. Thank you again, Kelsey. And to our listeners, thank you for turning in. And don't forget to subscribe to the Rebel Creatives podcast. And if don't just listen to these episodes, but actually try to implement them for yourself and get these results and, to your continued success. All right. Bye.
Bye.